Hello and welcome back to SpaceCraft. My name is Spanj and today we're going to be looking at how to build ships in SpaceCraft. Now, the game does a pretty good job at the beginning of telling you how to modify your ship and to adjust it and stuff as part of the sort of tutorial missions. But as you progress in the game, there isn't a lot of information about how shipbuilding actually works. And as you progress and you unlock more stuff for your ship, you'll start finding things are starting to go wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the various statistics that you need to be aware of, what they mean, and how you can adjust your ship, and when you can adjust your ship, to balance all those statistics out. So down here, when you're in the shipyard, you'll get this little ship stats down here. This is very important. You need to pay attention to this. At the top of this list is system and system support. This is kind of how much stuff your ship can support. And by stuff, I mean things like lasers, thrusters, solar panels, batteries, radiators, scanners, that sort of things. Everything that is listed under the modules tab up here, all of these little boxes and all the stuff that you strap to the outside of your hull, all contribute to consuming system points. The next one is engine force, which is kind of obvious. So this is how much your engines can lift, essentially. So we can see here, I have 986 tons, but I have an engine force of 1,200 tons. So well within the engine's tolerance. Next one down is integrity. A little difficult to explain this one, but integrity is basically how much your hull support in terms of size. The more modules you add to a ship, the lower the integrity will be. General rule of thumb is you can get about okay with anything above 20% integrity. But if you start crashing into things or going underwater, you're going to find that your ship takes damage a lot quicker. Also, if you push the FTL engines beyond, like you run out of fuel and your shield goes down while you're jumping, you will take damage quicker if your integrity is lower. So essentially, it's how much of a beating your ship can take. Now, hull is your health, essentially. Max speed, obvious. Maneuverability is, again, sort of obvious, although I don't really know what that number means or how high it should be. There's absolutely no real explanation other than you can increase it with more powerful engines or using wings like these things here, which you'll get from the beginning. You can also build some, just like you can hull parts, and we'll come to that in a minute. Acceleration time, obviously 0 to 60. Heat capacity and heat interface. Heat is an interesting mechanic because as you fire lasers or boost your thrusters, you're going to start generating heat, and you can expel heat with some small radiators, or you get the cocoon cockpit, which is very good at dissipating heat as well. Your heat capacity is overall how much heat can your ship take, and the heat interface is essentially how quickly heat affects your ship. You read the little tooltip here, it kind of explains it better than I can. And the decoration capacity doesn't really matter. Okay, so those are all the little statistics and stuff. Now, we'll start right back at the top again, back at system support. How do we increase our total system support and balance that with essentially how much we're going to be consuming? You can see here that I'm using 6,860 of an available 6,176. I'm over SP, and you can be over, and that's okay. But the further you are over, the more it will affect efficiency. Somewhat frustratingly, efficiency is not listed here. In order to get to the efficiency stat, you actually need to come out of the shipyard and then hit U, and your system efficiency is up here under this ship stats, which does actually present most of the stats you need here. So you can see my efficiency is 88%, which is perfectly fine. I generally say efficiency over sort of 75 and you'll be okay. Just bear in mind, the more or the less efficiency you have, the more heat buildup you're going to have, the more fuel your FTL engine is going to consume, the less weight your engines are going to push, less energy your generators are going to generate, and everything kind of comes down a bit, So general rule of thumb, you can go over SP, you just don't want to go over too much, okay? So back in the shipyard, we increase our system support by adding parts to the ship. Every single little part that you can add to the ship, and obviously when you first load your ship into your shipyard, it looks a little different to this, and you have a lot less parts, but you can move them around and so on and so forth. Eventually, you will unlock Ship of Steel under your Knowledge and Permits tab. And Ship of Steel is where you come in order to start building the ship parts that you can add to your ship. It's these parts that contribute SP. So you can see this steel 8x3x1 piece contributes 192 system points. And so therefore, the more of these you add to your ship, the more system points you get. The Nimbus spoiler also adds system points, and it also adds steering strength as well. So these spoilers and the wings and stuff like that are what you add in order to improve your maneuverability, but they also do contribute system points as well. Not very many, but you know, there it is. Now, just a word about these things. They take a long time to build. Parts you can only build in your assemblers in your base. So this is one of the first things that you want to be able to automate in your base. Start building these things, and then you can start building these parts and then finally start building your ship. So back to the shipyard then. We have added about 6,176 SP by adding parts to my ship. The hull parts, these things here. However, I have added so many of these parts to my ship now that my integrity is down to 25%. So I have, with this ship you see in front of you now, reached pretty much the absolute limit of steel ships. And this is very important as well, because the temptation here is to just build a bunch of hull parts and build the biggest ship you can so that you've got all the SP in the world and you just add more thrusters if you need to, and away you go. Integrity stops you from doing that. Integrity is a limit on the size of your ship based on the material you're building it from. So if I want to increase my integrity, there's a few things I can do. One of those things is to decrease the number of parts that I have here. Now, yeah, I know that's going to decrease the amount of SP, but it will slightly increase the integrity. Don't make the mistake of assuming you can just place larger parts, because while these do get you more SP than their equivalent thin pieces, they actually reduce the integrity. And that's because the hull points of these larger parts, in this case 22, is less than the combined hull parts of 2 of the smaller ones. At 15 each, that would mean that would be 30 hull, therefore more integrity. So larger parts aren't necessarily always better, depending on what you're trying to achieve. If you want more SP, they're great. If you need more integrity, they are counterproductive. And just to prove it, there you go. I put the thin ones back. We have a higher integrity, but a lower SP, but still well within tolerance. Honestly, the best advice I can give you is to essentially just to mess around with some parts. Get a bunch of parts in your inventory of different shapes and sizes and just mess about until you can kind of balance the integrity with the SP that you need. For example, if I take this piece here as an 8x3x2 and I replace it with an 8x3x1 and then maybe 2 4x3x1s like this, and you can just shift click to duplicate a part, by the way, if you've got it in there. Take that away and it reduces my SP down to just over 6,000, but my integrity goes up to 27.6. Now I know that integrity, anything above 20% is pretty much good for just getting about, as long as you're careful. Then I'm going to prefer the SP because I'm going to want more efficiency. So in this particular case, the smaller parts, although they increase my integrity, the lowering the SP in this instance is not good. So I'm going to go ahead and put that part back. And there you go, my integrity is 25%, but my SP is now back up to 6176. So it is really just about trying to balance integrity over SP. Engine force, like I said before, is easy. I've got the Void Seeker thrusters here, which are more than enough for the weight that I have in this ship. And there we go. I've got 25% integrity, just over 6,000 SP. Like I said before, I'm basically at the very limits of steel, what a steel ship can do. So if I want to take this SP up more and keep my integrity, what I'm going to have to do is unlock better titanium and actually start getting into titanium hull pieces. Now, this is the next phase of base automation. Your first base will probably be on a iron and coal deposit so that you can start producing steel. Your next base may need to be on a titanium deposit. In order to start producing the titanium, you need inert plate and you need B titanium ingots. And B titanium ingots are made of vanadium ingots and titanium. Vanadium is a little bit more difficult to acquire. You need to go quite far out of the galaxy. I'm not going to tell you where because, well, that's the game. But yeah, obviously the automation of titanium is like 3-4 times the difficulty of steel. In my opinion, this is going to take a lot to get into, but this is what you need in order to increase your SP. Look, that single piece there increases your SP by 720 and has 30 hull points. So the thing with titanium parts is that they are where you got these two basically, which are much bigger than any of the available steel parts. The biggest steel part is an 832. The biggest titanium part is a 16 by 6 by 2. Chonky. This part alone adds 960 SPs to your ship. It has 40 hull. So the difficulty that's going to be with titanium, and forgive me because I'm not quite there yet, so I can't actually demonstrate this, but you're going to be able to, you're going to have to balance once again your SP with your hull. Sure, this has got a lot of SP in one piece, but its hull stats are terrible. 40 hull points in a piece that big, which means your integrity is going to suffer. Okay, you're going to have to up your integrity using the smaller pieces, which, you know, a hull 10 in that case, or a hull 15 in that case, and just sort of slap and add them together and keep your integrity above 20. But notice the smaller titanium bits have basically the exact same stats as their steel equivalents, apart from the fact that they are lighter. They also have a slightly higher heat capacity, which may mean that you can actually lower the amount of radiators and heat dissipation parts that you might need, and that ultimately lowers your total SP required. From what I understand from the way that this game is designed, you will need to start thinking about having multiple ships. As you unlock your experience progression, you start unlocking the ability to have more ships. I suspect that the developer's intention here is that you have a ship that fulfills a particular role. Because of the limits in the shipyard, a ship that explores, a ship that mines, a ship that hauls, and ultimately, when it becomes available, a ship that fights. And with that in mind, perhaps having a ship that does it all is not really an option as you get into the end game and you start unlocking more and more complicated and expensive components. I know it can be frustrating because I think the general instinct here is to try and get a ship that can do everything, and you keep adding to and you keep upgrading and it keeps getting better and better. But the limits that the developers have placed on ships in this thing does force you down a certain route of specialization eventually. This ship, like I say, the one in front of you right now, is pretty much the limit of steel. Even upgrading this to titanium, I'm going to have to come up with a different design, because that single large piece that is going to be able to increase my SP at the sacrifice of hull is going to require a whole new design just to keep its hull integrity, above 20% and make it actually usable beyond what this steel ship can do, which is pretty much almost anything. Except now I'm getting into the part of the game where I need large mag plasma tanks so that I can warp even further, more fuel generators, liquid storage, and so on and so forth. And that is more and more SP that I need to load onto this thing, and it just can't. So at some point I'm just going to have to be like, well, I'll have to take the shields off, I'll have to take this or that off in order to be able to fulfill whatever task I'm doing at the time, rather than having a ship that does all. And that, for me, is a difficult pill to swallow, and I suspect it's a difficult pill for everyone to swallow who wants their ship to be able to do everything. But once again, I really expect the developer's intention is that you have multiple ships fulfilling different purposes, and the different cockpits available definitely lean into that as well. The Wanderback cockpit, for example, if you when you unlock this thing, it is a teleport back function that doesn't use fuel. So in my mind, you go as far out as you can, explore as far as you can. Once you're out of fuel, you just go and whip back to your home base or home station and refuel. The Anvil cockpit over here, massive thing, has a built-in smelter, perfect for a mining ship that's going out and doing resource runs. And as you go, it refines into ingots, which are lighter, so you can do more mining. And as you explore these trees, there just seems to be other cockpits and features and functions and stuff like that that really do lean into the kind of the more specialized ship route. So don't worry that you can't get your ship to do absolutely everything, because it's not meant to. You're meant to have multiple ships. I really hope that you found the explanation of all these different statistics helpful. If you have any other questions about any of these statistics that I haven't answered, please do let me know in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. And I hope you have a fun time building your ships in SpaceCraft. There's certainly a lot of potential for many, many different designs. And of course, more to come as the game develops. Like I say, I hope you found this useful and enjoyable. Thank you so much for watching. Feedback, comments down below. I look forward to reading them. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button if you want to see some more from me. And hit that like button if you did find this video useful. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.